made up by Obama. They were made up by the Biden information.
Alex, go ahead and go. Interrupted.
All right.
Sorry about that. Had the little technical difficulty right off the get-go with the system. Okay.
Welcome to another episode of Faith the Nation. I'm your host. I'm your host, Deacon Alex, and I'm joined with Brother Matthew Lepasic. God bless you, Brother Matt. Good to be here. How you doing, brother?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Just making sure everything's all set up on the streams. Let us know,
right.
ladies
You
and
go
gents,
ahead and do that. I'm just going to give a shout out.
Let us know if you guys. Let us know if you guys bump into any robotic noises. Make sure you fill that chat room if anything goes on with the sound throughout the show. Okay.
Yes. Please do that.
Looks
I just
like we're
want
good.
to give a quick shout out. Thank you guys for watching. I see 9 SESE9 says the Holy Spirit is gifting us with the ability to connect for this. Imagine not knowing about this. I'm finding out now. It's very upsetting. I'm assuming he's talking about the Mark of the Beast bill, which we're going to get into. God bless you, Church of Jesus Christ, House of Prayer. God bless you, sir. Thank you for watching. He's been here since the beginning. Also, who's been here from the beginning is Sister Elon. God bless you, sister. She says, coffee and pickles on me with the $9.99 super chat. First one of the day. Thank you so much, sister. We've got a Faith the Nation episode coming at you guys where we've got a lot going on. Israel, again in world news, and it's not with Iran. It's not with Hamas, but now with Syria. Has this been foretold in the Bible? Maybe so. But nonetheless, it is happening right now. So we're going to talk about Israel and Syria. Of course, we're just not going to let it die. No pun intended. We're going to talk more about the Epstein Files. And then we've got a drug war that is taking place north of the border. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Russia-Ukraine war. Also, the Trump tariffs. Israel versus Christians. We're going to get into that Mark of the Beast bill as well. Brother Matt is spearheading the Area 51 fires. And we've got some breaking news just happened today. Trump has been diagnosed. And no, that's not for clickbait or anything like that. Trump has been diagnosed with a chronic illness. And we're going to get into that. Also, Charlie Kirk venerates Mary. Is he becoming Catholic? We're going to talk about it. But first, we're going to get started here with Israel with a little clip here. And so we're going to... And this was earlier today. What's been going on? Israel and Syria. Really more in Syria than anything else. So there's been some tensions with the at the Israeli-Syria border. What's happening is there's a religious group called the Druze. And I know it sounds like Jews, but it's actually Druze, D-R-U-Z-E. And the Druze are a subsection, kind of a spin-off of Islam. They separated around the 11th century. They're kind of more into Gnosticism type of Islam. And they also believe they also believe in reincarnation. So it's a little weird. But nonetheless, the Druze have been a population within the Middle East, in the Jordan region, Israel, Syria area, even in Lebanon. They're a minority group. And while living in Israel, the Druze have lived relatively safe within Israel. But as we've also covered in Syria, the fall of al-Assad, the former regime, the former dictator in Syria, and with the fall, and now we have al-Jilani, who is he's basically Al-Qaeda in a suit, and he is now the new president. He also met President Trump recently during Donald Trump's visit to the Middle East. And the Druze, during the Assad regime, they had a militia that would protect themselves from the Assad regime. And so it was kind of like a little subsection of Syria, with the Druze population. And now the Druze are trying to get out from this new government in Syria, led by al-Jilani. And so what's happening is now there's been a lot of tension between the Druze and the al-Jilani regime, the new regime that's coming in, and there's basically broke out in war. And so what is a lot of the Druze from Israel are infiltrating into Syria to try to help their Druze brothers. And so there's kind of like a civil war going on within Syria between the Druze and the new Syrian government. And of course, Israel is taking side with the Druze and began launching some attacks within the Syrian country right there in Damascus. And so we're seeing definitely some tensions toward the northern border of Israel with Syria. Brother Matthew, you saw a little bit about this. Did you? What were your thoughts on that? You think they're just starting another war, or what's going on?
My faith meter in Israel is at all-time low, as if I ever actually had one, short of God's Israel. But whoever these people are, and I look at them as just as corrupt as the United States was, and my hope meter for Israel is pretty much on par with any country in Europe. It's really nothing different, nothing spectacular. So yeah, to see them starting another war, I don't want to be that guy that hops on everything. But since when is it a small thing that we're bombing people, or that Israel's bombing people, that we have this minor incursion? For me, the course over the last year or so, I wasn't even really aware of the horrific numbers that were going on into Ukraine. I thought it was somewhat of a small skirmish, only to find that 5,000, 10,000 people sometimes dying in a single day. Can't even come to terms with it. So whatever Syria's got up there, whatever Israel has up its sleeves right now, or whatever excuses it has, I just am it's really hard to process at this point in time. And as you know, Alex, I am a fan of giving human beings who are brothers and sisters and are in and out of the faith benefit of doubt, but I don't give governments benefit of doubt. It's really how I'm built.
Yeah, so there is a scripture in Isaiah 17, verse 1. It says, "The burden of Damascus, behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city, and it shall be a ruinous heap." And that was, judgment that was coming down upon Damascus. And throughout history, we kind of have not seen that yet. At least it hasn't been recorded that Damascus has ever become a ruinous heap. And so some may actually apply this to an end time prophecy. And so so that's why we do focus on Damascus, which happens to be the capital of Syria. It is where the new regime is being spearheaded from. And so we are going to keep watch on this, as we want to keep watch on biblical things, so that this way we are not caught off guard. But Netanyahu, obviously he has some things to say, and he let me see here. He had given instructions here. He had said, in a significant escalation of military action, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced today that Israel will continue its operations in Syria to enforce two critical red lines Okay, and those red lines were basically setting a demilitarized zone, giving space between the border of Israel and between Damascus. And the second red line is to not create a genocide on the Druze people. And so obviously that's kind of what has been perceived from the Israeli side. And I was actually watching another video, Matt, from an Israeli guy on a YouTube channel, and he was actually interviewing some Druze right there on the border where they broke in. And the Druze were confirming that the new regime in Syria is trying to create a genocide and trying to kill all the Druze and basically take over, because they have a very strong militia, and they are trying to secede. They are trying to develop their own, set country, so to speak, or their own state. So, and look, we're not hearing a lot about it in the mainstream media. And, I would have to wonder why. Why do you think we're not hearing about this so much in the mainstream media?
Well, first, mainstream media to begin with isn't something that we trust as a beacon of truth or raising alarms or setting our priorities. We don't hear about any of the little details of what's going on in any of the nations. All we hear about is drama. It's like akin to that thing when I was a kid. When I didn't even watch the news, my parents would say, "Oh, the news is just negative. It's all about the murder and what happened terrible, around the block." So unless it aligns with an agenda, these things aren't really in the news. And as we know this week, what's aligning with their agenda is the conversations about Jeffrey Epstein that I'm just sick to death of, which we'll be getting into soon. Yeah. So Benjamin Netanyahu's comments come after extensive Israeli strikes targeting Syrian military assets, which he claims were necessary to prevent further violence against the Druze. He underscored that the ceasefire announced by the Syrian president, again, he goes al-Jalani, he actually goes by al-Shara now, was only achieved through force, not negotiation. So the situation remains tense, with Israel vowing to act decisively to protect its interests and allies in the region. And, look, aside from whatever you think about this, I side with Israel, okay? And I'm not just siding with Israel just to side with Israel. I think what they are doing is they are coming to the aid of the Druze people, okay, who are not Jewish. They're actually more Muslim than they are Jewish. And nobody else is doing it. The UN isn't doing it. The UN isn't calling it out. And so Israel is... Well, if I was in Israel, then perhaps I'd be listening to Israeli TV, and the excuse for that would be that they would be preparing the hearts and minds of the people and rallying the people, because a country represents the people, and the people's will have to be involved in terms of these excursions. So I'm not well aware of what's happening on the news over there in Israel, so then therefore I can't give that perspective. But the idea of this always, and I know that you're not either, but the idea that this always give them, they think that they're defending another people over there. When have they ever defended anybody except for the land that is their own? I've never seen them as be peacekeepers in the world. So we should call Yariv and see what he has to say about what's going on the news. And to note that, guys, on the Faith the Nation channel, we have released an interview that Alex and I did with Yariv Ben Yehuda, a media personality, a journalist, and an activist from Israel. And it's a very jam-packed expose from the mouth of Yariv Ben Yehuda in terms of the corruption over there in Israel, which is an extension of why I don't give them benefit of doubt. The same way I didn't give Biden benefit of doubt. Netanyahu has a lot of dirt underneath his fingernails. And the next article that we got queued up here, we'll probably go into that a little bit more, Alex, here in 10 seconds.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and get into it. So Israeli strikes killed 15 Syrian defense and interior military personnel. This in significant escalations of violence, Syrian Bedouin fighters have launched a new offensive against Druze fighters in the Sweda province. despite a recent announced truce. This offensive comes as tensions remain high following days of bloody clashes. The Bedouin group, as they seek to free Bedouins detained by Druze armed factions. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Bibi, is conveying his security cabinet to discuss ongoing ceasefire negotiations in Gaza. As the IDF reports, the recent airstrikes that killed 3 Hamas terrorists, including a key commander, the situation remains fluid, with the death toll from a recent strike on, unfortunately, a church, which I was unaware that there was actually even a church in Gaza, rising to 3, prompting condemnation from the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem. As the conflict continues to unfold, the international community is closely monitoring the developments. And of course they are. Anything that they can do to condemn, the strikes in Gaza, they're definitely going to do it. And so I had no idea that there was a church, a Catholic or an Orthodox church in Gaza. I can't even see that would actually even survive this long, much less from an Israeli strike. I would think that the Hamas wouldn't even allow something like that. Brother Matthew, did you know that there was a church in Gaza?
In terms of Gaza, Gaza is Palestine, isn't it? Or is that not exactly? Not
Yeah,
exactly
it is. Gaza Strip. Well, it's. I mean, that's up for debate. But yeah, I mean, obviously, it is considered Palestine, but it's considered the Gaza Strip, where basically the October 7th attacks came from, which I thought was completely radical Islam. I had no idea that there was an actual church over there.
Gaza's like what, 2 miles, a 2 mile square circumference type of situation, 5 miles, 10 miles, something like that.
It's not. Yeah, I mean, it's not that small, but I mean, it's like what? It's like maybe 10 miles wide, and maybe 40 miles long or something like that. I'm sure we can get a square circumference from ChatGPT really quick.
So
do
you make a distinction in your mind, like when you think of Gaza? Do you equate to Palestine? Because the reason why I bring that up is just because, I'm aware of Palestine having tons of churches and tons of Christian influence and tons of Christian pilgrims within the area, but within the specifics of Gaza, I really just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, and really quick. So the length is 25 miles. The width is anywhere from 3.7 to 7.5 miles wide. So the total area equates to be about 141 square miles. Now, do I consider it Palestine? I mean, obviously, if we're talking in normal terms, if I'm talking to somebody, I'll refer to it as Palestine. But I don't actually equate Palestine with actually being a state, or even for that matter. I mean, I just believe that it's all Israel. But for the sake of argument or for the sake of speaking to somebody, I would refer to Palestine. But it's weird because there's 2 parts to Palestine. You have the West Bank, which is East Jerusalem on over to the Jordan River, which would include places like Bethlehem, which we know. I mean, obviously, biblically speaking, what is Bethlehem? It's the land of Judah. It's from Jew. It should be Jewish land. But nonetheless, that's called the West Bank. That's Palestine. And then you have a break within that, which is obviously Israel, and a gap. And so basically you have a landmass, a strip of landmass on this side, West Bank, and over here you have the Gaza Strip. I don't know if you can tell by what I'm doing with my hand or anything like that. But so that's what's considered Palestine today. That's what is being contested to make a 2-state solution by typically, world leaders and people that don't really hold to biblical values, that would believe that is Jewish land and it's nobody else's. Yeah, so that's that.
Okay. Well, gosh, my memory is such a short-term memory nowadays, but it just seems like Israel is involved in a whole lot of drama in the Middle East nowadays. But I mean, as I was growing up and a kid, that's the only reputation I've ever had of Israel is to be a war-torn nation that's always going to be fighting, that has been fighting since day one. Of course, Israel wasn't the center necessarily of being the one responsible for this warfare, but in terms of that region in general, I just can't say that I'm too surprised. But God knows that we don't have time to hear about it on the news.
I would say that, these files were made up by Comey. They were made up by Obama. They were made up by the Biden we went through years of that with the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through. We've gone through years of it. But she's handled it very well, and it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's all we're actually hearing about lately on the news over here in the United States is what's going on with Epstein and the MAGA brawl that's been taking place. And Trump has had quite a last 3 or 4 days getting into really ticking off the entire conservative right, known as the Make a Great America movement, that is responsible for, putting Donald Trump into office. That little statement there is where we began a little bit near the beginning of the week, when Trump was indicating that after all this back and forth and after his statements, that it seems like anything that was legitimate that the Attorney General could sift through, that he would indeed allow to be released. However, as the week went on, things definitely progressed. In a recent Truth Social post, former President Trump shared his thoughts with followers, garnishing over 130,000 views. The post made on July 16th, it sparked significant engagement. Trump continues to utilize social media to communicate directly with his supporters, emphasizing the ongoing influence in the political landscape. I don't know if that's the best idea, but as you see on screen here, he's saying that it's all about Russia, 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 totally fake and a made-up story. He says that. Just 1 second here. He says that Russia scam itself, totally fake and a made-up story. 1 second, I gotta stop this scrolling here.
Yeah. So if I may, Brother Matt, what he's saying is he's trying to equate the Steele dossier, Russia hoax, and he's trying to link these Epstein files with some kind of democratic scheme to dismantle the MAGA, people and split us up and all of that. And it's really a fumble, in my opinion, by Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump is really just not reading his base very well.
Well, look at this language, like a fumble.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is a kick to the gut. I mean, if we're scrolling down to the bottom of this guy here, it says, yes, their new scam is what we'll forever call the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. And my past supporters have brought into this BS hook, line, and sinker.
Past supporters. Okay, look, I know we're going to talk a little bit about, maybe later on, maybe we need to talk about it now. I don't know, about Donald Trump actually getting diagnosed with some kind of chronic illness. Maybe he's on some medication right now and he's just not thinking right. I mean, that's what I want to think about this, right? I want to think that
Sounds like
Donald
inflammation
Trump
is the details.
Yeah, Donald Trump has
some,
he's clouded right now. His judgment is a little clouded, maybe, perhaps. Maybe we're seeing a little bit of cognitive decline, perhaps. I mean, I know he is up there in age.
Look at this.
But
let these weaklings continue forward and do the Democrats' work. Don't even think about the talking of our incredible and unprecedented success. And now that would be okay if he was talking about the fake news. He's always addressed the fake news this aggressively. But he's actually talking about the supporters. And I'm trying to make excuses for Donald on all of this. And I'd like to think he's talking about the social media pundits, the ones that are keeping this at the very top, of the news headlines,
Charlie Kirks,
so on and so forth.
The Benny Johnsons.
maybe he's talking about
Steve
Fox
Bannon.
News, but it feels like he's talking about the individual supporters is the problem from the language of this post. And of course, there's been all kinds of discussions as whether he's really writing these himself. And I mean, we've never been led to believe before that it wasn't Trump himself writing these himself, or at least dictating them to someone who's typing it in on his phone. And the very idea that he's trying to sell, it's not being bought by anybody. And it's like that, leading to incredible levels of fatigue regarding this discussion. And for me in particular, it's led me to a place where my hands are just up in the air, and I'm sort of giving blanket default trust to Donald Trump to see what's going on here. Meanwhile, Representative Thomas Massie, he has filed a petition, and this petition to force the Epstein Files release. So Representative Massie of Kentucky, he's announced a discharge petition aimed at forcing a vote on the release of the complete Jeffrey Epstein files. This happened on the 15th, and as Massie expressed...
Oh, sorry about that. As he expressed...
Hold on one second here. I don't know what... You just cleared something off the screen.
Sorry.
Anyhow, so Massie's going to be collecting signatures in just 7 days, needing a total of 218 to compel the House to vote. This initiative arises amid speculation that Attorney General Pam Bondi may not release critical documents.
I actually hope that he does. I think this would be great. And like going back to the Trump thing, Brother Matt, like one thing I want to say is that I support Donald Trump. I voted for Donald Trump. I believe that Donald Trump, God spared his life for a reason. Okay. And obviously, I think that reason is he is doing very good things. But let's be honest here. People were anointed in the Bible that didn't exactly live up to everything that they were supposed to do. I think of people like Saul. Saul was anointed by God, and he fumbled severely. Then you have people like David, who was anointed by God, who committed every sin under the sun by taking the wife of Uriah the Hittite, Bathsheba. You have people like Hezekiah, the most righteous king in the Bible. And the Bible said that there would be no other king like him. And that there was none before him, nor none after him, and that he was just a righteous king. But even he fumbled the ball within his, his kingship. So, I do, in some sense, I still support Donald Trump. And if I had to vote for him again, I would do it again. If he were to run for presidency again, I would probably still vote for Donald Trump again.
Of course, Donald's the man. It's just that he's got us in this situation where we don't know what's up or down anymore. And of course, we give him the benefit of doubt as much as we possibly can. But what everyone's bringing to the table is none of this is making any sense, because his own administration, whether from Bongino to Kash Patel to Pam Bondi, that it's been this giant mess of making us think we're getting the Epstein files and say we're not going to do it. And it looks like he was about to give in, okay? Because you started to see all of this ruckus happening where Bongino was saying and Kash was saying that if Pam Bondi doesn't leave and get out of there, then he's going to be leaving. So we started to see the motions that was happening while it was that turning point. We started to think that that was going to be the excuse then for him to say, sorry guys, it's all Pam Bondi's fault, and follow that political operandi like they usually do, to have to cut someone's head off and say they were responsible, throw them under the bus. Well, then he made an about turn from that, made another Truth Social post saying that he's incredibly pleased with Pam Bondi. So it's been a bunch of and I don't know if he's intentionally trying to wear us down, because I just don't think that he's capable of making these type of mistakes unless they're calculated. So it just leads me to believe that he's doing some sort of like game of showing who's in charge over the social media influencers whom think that they can keep something in the headlines for as much as they want. But for me, the opposite of thing has taken place, because Actually, for me, that's exactly what's taking place, because he's wearing me down so much that it's causing me to have my true colors come out, and where it basically is causing me to say, do I trust him or do I not trust him? Because I'm so sick of everything. I'm at the phase where it's like, okay, I want to tune out, and I'm just like, all right, fine, man, you're going to do what you're going to do. I'm not siding with all these social media influencers and all of these mainstream news, and certainly not the people on the left. I'm siding with you, and I don't know if that is his goal or not. But it just seems like it's a real big mess. And, and furthermore, in discussing that, we've got this thing where the left as well as the right are doing things like Thomas Massie introducing a bill. Well, there's also GOP senators that were introducing a bill. Senate Republicans are distancing themselves from the growing controversy surrounding President Trump and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. As of the 15th, senators are under pressure from MAGA activists demanding transparency regarding Epstein's alleged clients. And despite the DOJ and the FBI's memo stating that there is no incriminating client list, figures like attorney Pam Bondi are facing scrutiny. Senate Majority Leader John Thune emphasized that the matter lies with the DOJ and with the FBI, while Trump himself expressed frustration over the ongoing focus on Epstein, stating, this guy's been talked about for years. So it's really out of focus. And then when we look at what the Republicans are doing, Republican lawmakers have moved to block a Democratic effort aimed at releasing the so-called Epstein files. This is coming after the White House handling of the documents related to Jeffrey Epstein were just a complete mess. Led by California Congressman Ro Khanna, he sought to amend the cryptocurrency legislation to mandate the release of evidence from Epstein's 2019 child sex trafficking case. However, the Republicans, including Trump's Attorney General Pam Bondi, voted down the amendment, claiming Epstein's death was a suicide and that the evidence would not be released. And obviously that's just causing uproar all over the place. So even as people within the House are trying to create bills that are going to force his hand, everything is absolutely being stopped. And then we also have more drama happening when House Democrats are intensifying their calls for the release of the Epstein files, which that we would expect to have a negative attitude towards. Representative Mark Vesey of Texas, he vowed to introduce legislation demanding transparency. And Vesey stated either President Trump and his acolytes fueled the rumors of the significance of the Epstein files to help his campaign, or something is there. Meanwhile, Representative Khanna of California is set to introduce the amendment to force a vote on the matter. And the idea that this is causing a rift in the GOP and in MAGA is already self-declared. And then we've got Representative Tim Burchett, who's on the news talking with this type of language.
Should there be an investigation or a special counsel investigation?
I don't know. I'm not an attorney. I just find them guilty and hang them publicly. I mean, that's not over the top either. I'm over it. It disgusts me.
That's
I'm
it.
big on clarity and transparency, and that's good reason people don't trust government, either party.
But you don't believe what the Justice Department is saying?
I don't know. No, I don't. I think I don't trust them.
Bro, like this guy right here, dude, Tim Burchett, dude. We should publicly hang them. I was actually talking about I think I was talking to my wife and somebody else or somebody else, I can't remember. But we were talking about in the old days when they would do a public hanging, right? Even to people's surprise, people probably don't realize George Washington, the very first president of the United States, when he was fighting the American Revolutionary War, when he was dealing with people that didn't want to fight or people that would leave the battlefield when they were supposed to be serving, you know what he did? He did a public execution, and it whipped people into shape. It put the fear into people. And so, people don't want to talk about that about George Washington, right? Founding father of the nation, did public executions. But I'm not saying that we do that for like our military or anything like that. But I mean, if you do treasonous acts, if there's
hang them. We just want to know their names at this point. You know what I mean? Like hanging. Okay,
PDF
great.
files. I mean, look, Matt. I mean, look. You know what Trump is missing here? It's not about Epstein. It's not about Epstein. You know, when
I don't
he
think
says,
he's missing
like,
it at all.
No, he was like, what? The guys still thinking about this creep? This guy has been dead for years. Like, bro, Donald, DJT. Like, it's not about Epstein. It's about the victims. It's about the pedophiles that are still alive, that are just wandering around without accountability, and it's about justice. Christians, we want justice. We love justice. You know who else loves justice? Jesus Christ. And he's going to give justice. This is why we want justice. We should be a country that loves justice. And that's what we want. It's not about Epstein. It's about justice being rightfully served. And I applaud Tim Burchett for saying that. I mean, I think Tim Burchett is right there. I think that's what he's talking about. Serving justice.
Everyone's articulating it the right way. We couldn't be any more outspoken, and it's not like there's a division within MAGA influencers or MAGA reporters, MAGA media. We're all saying the same thing, which is exactly that point. The point being that this is about exposing the deep state. This isn't even about it. And he's saying these nonsensical things as if we all think it's about Jeffrey Epstein and him being a sicko. I mean, it's gaslighting to like the third degree. And for
man, gaslighting your own people.
Yeah, I mean, and the rumors have been all over the place. People trying to make excuses for what's going on with Trump, and I think that some of that is accurate, accurate speculations. Here, let's play the video real quick from Trump, so talking about Pam Bondi some more.
Epstein case. Do you agree with her, sir?
The Attorney General's handled that very well. She's really done a very good job. And I think that when you look at it, you'll understand that. I would like to see that also. But I think the Attorney General, the credibility is very important.
Look at what? He ain't showing us nothing.
You want credible evidence for something like that. And I think the Attorney General's handled it very well.
How many more?
Dude, I mean, look, he has to say that, okay? He has to support his people. He chose them. He shielded for them. He advocated for them.
Bro, but get this.
And so,
Barron
he doesn't want to...
I don't want to stop you, but Barron posted on Facebook, which is a verified Barron's account. He posted this AI video of Pam Bondi getting the boot, okay, and like Apprentice style, "You're fired," and then walking out through the door. And I commented on the post, and I said, "This is like 2 days ago." I commented on the post, and I said, "Oh, that's not cool. This is not funny. Pam Bondi's just a scapegoat, and she's an American patriot, right?" And then Barron liked my reply. And then he deleted the post, and then that very same evening is when Trump was saying, what about my boys and my girls that are getting on Pam Bondi's case, that I like her and she's not going anywhere. So it's very obvious that there's been, like, they don't have a strategy per se unless their strategy is trying to wear us out, unless their strategy is chaos. They're changing their mind with the winds. And from Alex Jones to Judge Napolitano, everyone's thinking the worst. Like, you couldn't possibly make it look like you have incriminating on yourself any more than you actually do, Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah. No, it's okay. It's just, he's missing their base. He's just not getting right. He's not getting it right. This is a big fumble. Yeah.
And then,
yeah.
Obviously, when it comes to the Elon, we wouldn't expect a whole lot of him because we've seen we've seen him lose it over the past couple of weeks, but maybe he was right. He's the first one that said the reason why you haven't seen the Epstein files is because Donald Trump is on it.
Trump's
Yeah. So Elon's just been all over the place, blasting Trump all throughout the week, tweet after tweet after tweet. And
the thing about it is, though, Matt, is that, like, look, I think we all know that Trump's name is going to be somewhere on there. Okay, and I don't think that's the problem. I don't think that's the issue. If Trump was actually a client, then that would be an issue. That's definitely an issue. Okay, but But I don't even think he was a client. I just don't see it, because if he was a client, why? I mean, Joe Biden would have jumped on it. Hillary Clinton would have jumped on it. I mean, we would have known that. That would have been a November surprise or October surprise 3 times over. And so
Yeah,
the fact that they didn't do that, Donald Trump is one of the most vetted people in the United States in politics.
I agree.
So if they had
Because he's been so
anything on
attacked.
him,
That's how he's vetted,
yeah,
right?
he's been
Because
so
he's been
attacked.
so under attack.
They would have had every chance to use this against him. So I don't think that Donald Trump is on the client list. But sure, is he on the files? Yeah,
But here's the
obviously.
thing, Alex. What did they suggest? What did Donald suggest? Okay, Donald suggested that this is the same people who brought you, the whatchamacallit laptop and Russia. He's saying that Comey is responsible during the era when all of this stuff came to the future. So I think what they're finding is that they had added stuff to these files, right? So they've planted evidence within the Epstein files that probably really does implicate Trump in a harsh way. And if you look back at Trump's personality, the guy who coming down the elevator was talking in that Access Hollywood interview, or grab him by the, and
Yeah.
2 divorces behind him. Being featured in all of the clubs for so many years, he's not hiding the fact that he was a ladies' man and he was a club guy, and that he was, like I guess in the worldly terms you call a regular dude. I almost said womanizer, but like he was a guy that would pride himself in his count, if you know what I mean. Okay,
Sure.
like we all know those guys, right? I sort of used to be one of them. So this fits his MO of someone that could have legitimately been hoodwinked, saying by someone he's not buying it, right? He's not like, he doesn't have to pay for sex per se, but someone who within his field of influence could offer somebody up, that was perhaps underage and that he, did participate with, and then be able to get him, blackmailed. So it's not without thought. So both legitimately, he literally could be a person that was caught in the honey trap, right? And then secondly, he could be somebody that got set up by them putting information into the files. Either way, the way that he's handling it is just insane, because Alex, now we're turning to Ghislaine Maxwell, right? And she's getting her opportunity. And after seeing how P. Diddy just basically got off on the 3 of 6 charges, that was a nothing burger. Was that a whole media distraction? Was that intentional? Was that just the let our hopes up and then have them completely be destroyed? Look at this one with Ghislaine Maxwell. Ghislaine Maxwell's family released the statement saying that she didn't get a fair trial. Look at this thing.
Yeah,
Our sister Ghislaine Maxwell did not receive a fair trial. Her legal team continues to fight her case in the courts and will file its reply in short order to the government's opposition in the U.S. Supreme Court. If necessary, in due course, they will also file a writ of habeas corpus to the U.S. District Court. So on and so forth. So the fact that the family is coming out with this at this particular time, it's an illustration that they think that this is the strike while the iron is hot, while there's media attention, and while all the attention is being deflected on this MAGA movement. And then, we've been saying forever, not we as in Faith the Nation, but the mainstream pundits in the conservative right have been saying that Epstein was what? That he was like an operative of Israel.
Mossad. Yeah, Mossad agent or CIA agent, but specifically Mossad, because Epstein obviously is a Jewish last name. And this was obviously something that Israel wanted to respond on. And so you had Naftali Bennett as a former Israeli prime minister with the Mossad having reported directly to me. I say to you with 100% certainty, the accusation that Jeffrey Epstein somehow worked for Israel or the Mossad running a blackmail ring is categorically and totally false. Of course, Is this something that we actually believe? Or, is this something that we just assume that, they're telling the truth, or we just outright reject it? I mean, if you're the conspiracy realm, you're not going to believe somebody that's a former Israeli prime minister. You're just not going to believe them, right? I mean, why would they tell you if he was Mossad? They're not going to tell.
By Trump at the cabinet meeting when someone asked the Attorney General an innocent question about how, an obvious question about how this Epstein imbroglio had suddenly burst upon them, and Trump intervening in that asinine
Dude, that guy looks asleep, bro.
way,
George Galloway,
saying, I can't believe people are still talking about Jeffrey Epstein. When he and his...
I wouldn't go that far, Alex, because I think Napolitano must have had a stroke or something.
He just looks asleep. I'm sorry, man. If he had a stroke, I'm sorry.
I don't know. I don't know if that's the case, but that was my suspicion when I saw something like that. It has to be the case.
Whole MAGA movement never stopped talking about Jeffrey Epstein. What changed, do you think?
Yeah, he looks like a character from Sesame Street, dude.
Evidence bundle that persuaded them not to proceed.
I think that I'm going to tell you exactly what I think. I think Trump's name is on the list. I think Mossad knows it. I think Mossad told their American stenographer, who happens to be the director of the CIA, who takes down and regurgitates everything Mossad told him. And I think that stenographer whispered it into the president's ear. And he's terrified that this will come out because he knows it will be the beginning of the end, whether there's a Republican Congress or a Democrat Congress. That's what I honestly believe has happened. Now, obviously, I haven't seen the files. Government, that's how highly the government regards him on the time, place, and manner.
Now he's talking about the autopsy.
Death in either a wrongful death or a murder case. Dr. Bodden was hired by...
Yeah, just intervene for a second because I sort of cut maybe prematurely. We'll resume that. But so what do you think of Napolitano?
Well, he said. Well, first off, he said that he hasn't seen the files, so he just thinks that Donald Trump is on the list. I mean, it's just speculative at that point for him.
It is, but we all think that. Isn't that what you're thinking? I'm thinking that he's in the
files. I think we have to make sure that we differentiate between what is the files and what is the list, right? The list, the Rolodex, the black book, so to speak, the client list, the ones that were actually flying to the island but
that's public record. That's been public record. That's stuff that has been out now for good 6-7 years. So we know obviously.
Yeah, and Trump isn't on them.
But we know that isn't. It is. He is in the flight logs, and we
but
do know
not to the island.
Right, but I'm saying that's not the information that they're trying to hide. Right, like we're not concerned that he's going to be finding these type of details. I mean, I don't think that's what it's about. The idea is that they've got damning evidence on him. There's only a few things people are thinking. So they think that he's being blackmailed by somebody else, like they're going to kill him, right? And by that token, that he's not actually on the list, but we'll kill you anyways if you release it because you're going to be exposing us. Or they think that he's incriminated, like is what Elon told us, that he's incriminated on the list, or whatever you want to call it, by whatever files would come out would lead to uproar against him that he couldn't navigate or wasn't already on the record. Or this idea that Alex had posited that he's using the blackmail files in order to the Epstein files in order to blackmail the deep state, right? Such as what we saw with the change of heart, the European Union, and how they've changed their tune within the past couple of weeks. Of course, there's an unlimited list of options of what's going on here. Well,
all the speculation would just end if it was just released, or whatever you can release. And so, now, Trump is, I heard that he's actually recently embracing a special prosecutor to actually investigate the this Epstein file, whether or not it actually happens or not. I mean, Trump has been and the administration has been so wishy-washy and so double-sided on this, double-minded even. And what does the Bible say? Double-minded man is unstable is on his ways. Like,
well, he's manufacturing double-mindedness in in us.
Well, first one day they say, when the administration first got kicked off back in February, Pam Bondi said that the files were on her desk. She was specifically asked about the client list. Okay, she was about the client list, not the files, but the client list. And she said, yes, they are sitting on my desk to be reviewed. Then all of a sudden, a couple weeks ago on a Sunday night at about 9 o'clock, we just so happened to be going live at that time, that the DOJ had dropped the news that there was no client list and that Epstein really did kill himself. And so, people like Dan Bongino has been saying, don't let this go. We can't let this go. This is so big. We cannot let this go. And now he works for the DOJ and the FBI, deputy director of the FBI, Dan Bongino. You have Kash Patel saying that there's a list and that we need to put these guys in jail. You have Don Jr., who's been saying that there's a list and we need to hold these guys accountable. Why? Because they were going to throw his father in jail. So he wants to throw those guys in jail, right? And so we've been told for the past several years talking about this, right? Even during Donald Trump's first presidential run, talking about putting Hillary Clinton in jail, right? And in saying that Bill Clinton had a problem with that island. We all know what he was alluding to. And it's like, that's what we want. If Bill Clinton's on the list, let us see it. We need to see it.
Bro,
he has to be held accountable.
But I've listened to every social media commentator, right, has been making videos about Epstein. So much so, like this segment for which I was taking notes for, it's like exasperating. Everybody's got the same opinions. There's no creativity in the exploring of all this, But all it's doing is it's causing us to say over and over and over all of the reasons why we think that Epstein wasn't murdered in the first place, bringing up all of the circumstantial evidence and defeating Trump's proposition that we're looking at this. Let's finish up the this clip here, because what was going on is Bowden is Judge Matalapano. He was talking about Dr. Bowden. Where concerns are raised regarding the original government's autopsy findings by Dr. Bowden, who he's a guy who frequently testifies for the government, and he was asserting that Epstein's injuries could not have been self-inflicted, claiming that it defies the laws of physics. And that assertion, obviously was raising all kinds of questions about the circumstances surrounding Epstein's death. So let's resume that clip and let Napolitano explain it.
Epstein's relatives, his family, to investigate his death, to perform another autopsy, and to examine the reports of the original government autopsy. And Michael Baden, the doctor the government trusts, has said it is impossible for him to have suffered the injuries he suffered by his own hand. It is against the laws of physics. It could only have been done by an outside force. That's what this 1 minute is hiding, what the outside force was. It was probably the same sophisticated people who compiled the list and who are threatening Trump. They know how to kill. They know how to kill quietly, quietly, effectively, and quickly. I'm sure that that's how it was done. I shouldn't say sure. I'm confident that that's how it was done.
Dude, that guy looks like a Sesame Street character, bro. Look at him.
But that's not his fault. There's something going on. So yeah, let's
God forgive me. Lord forgive me.
let's skip ahead to the special prosecutor. So Donald Trump has embraced the FBI's decision to investigate the alleged intelligence abuses spanning from the 2016 to 2024. During an interview the other day, Trump expressed support for a special prosecutor to lead this inquiry, which may also include the controversial Epstein case. He emphasized the need for transparency and accountability, stating, "I think they could look at all of it. It's all the same scam." Trump plans to declassify 2 critical intelligence documents relating to the FBI's handling of the Hillary Clinton email investigation and the origins of the Russia probe, which he claims will reveal significant misconduct. And he criticized everybody for failing to unite on these issues, asserting if you don't have a fair and free voting, you don't have a country. So the special prosecutor idea is out there. We just don't know if it's actually going to happen. And to really top this off, we have the news that the person that we've been hearing that is connected to Comey being, what is it here, his daughter? Yeah.
His
the daughter
daughter
of James Comey is finally getting fired. Maurene Comey, a prominent prosecutor in high-profile cases, including those of Diddy and Epstein and Maxwell, has been fired from her position, finally, as the Manhattan U.S. Attorney's Office. That decision was confirmed just earlier yesterday. Comey, who is the daughter of FBI Director James Comey, informed of her termination by the Executive Office for the U.S. Attorneys. The reason behind her dismissal is obvious.
I don't know why she wasn't. Yeah, I don't know why she wasn't let go
months ago.
Yeah, like what's taking you so long, bro? It's crazy, craziness, craziness. So let me just say my last thoughts on this whole Epstein thing. When it comes to Donald Trump. Again, I just want to say I support Donald Trump still. I think this is definitely a very big fumble, on his side with the administration. It's just very odd how it's being handled. And number one, we just lost a lot of trust in that. And I'm not saying that we put all of our trust, in a man or anything like that, but I'm talking about a worldly thing. Obviously, we know where our trust ultimately lies. It lies in Christ. It lies in what Jesus did for us on the cross. So when we say that we lost trust for someone like a Donald Trump, or we're losing trust in the Trump administration, don't take that where it doesn't need to go. But let's be real. Obviously, we were wanting to see people being held accountable for the heinous crimes against child, you name it, child sex schemes, so whatever they were doing, man. We want justice to be served. And if that meant that a Bill Clinton or an Obama or whoever, Bill Gates, whoever was, to be held accountable, then so be it. Because we don't want these types of things going on in our country, nor should we want it anywhere in the world. But what do we have control of? We should be able to have control over what happens in our country. And so we don't want that stuff happening. We want these people to be held accountable. That's what the Epstein Files is really about. It's not about Epstein anymore. It's about justice being served. We desire to see justice truly served. And the more that this Epstein thing goes on, and this debacle and this fumble that's happened by the Trump administration, the more, God is ministering to me, and I think he should be ministering to us all, those who believe in Christ, that we should know that we can never truly trust a worldly government, and that the only person that we can truly trust to administer real justice, unadulterated justice, is going to be the Lord. And so, we're gonna thank God on that day when justice is truly served. And It's moments like these where we desire justice. We don't see it in the world. And when we read in the Bible how God is going to administer justice, I can only imagine on that day when the Lord returns and justice is truly served, how the saints are going to react, because we desire justice and we will see it served one day.
Yeah, and this is on the heels of the whole Israel-Iran thing that we were just also had our Trump meter going all over the place, So we literally were fatigued to death about that, starting off saying that, oh, we don't know what I was saying that I didn't know whether he should be doing that. I was having distrust in Israel. And then that turned out into to be this major win, in my view, at least for Trump, as Iran did that little fake retaliation on the bases. And it seems like that whole situation was closed out and we wanted to just have the win and be able to run with it. But instead, now we've got this major L hitting us in the face because of Epstein. And in this case, it's like Trump is the only one that can be to blame. And there's just so much going on with people who are paying attention to the news every day that you couldn't have any more of an explanation just to stop watching the news altogether, and but just put your faith in Christ and Christ alone, and don't even care about the United States actually being restored, because it's not healthy paying attention to all this stuff day in, day out. I'll tell you that much. It's an emotional roller coaster. Trying to decide whether you trust somebody. Imagine if you had to do that with your wife or with your husband. Do I trust you? Do I not trust you? I mean, it would exhaust you. And that's because you really care about that relationship. And the relationship that we have by Donald Trump is a proxy because of this nation that we live in, the care that we have. And the idea that it's being tossed to and fro from our emotions it really takes its toll on our psyche. So time for me to take some time off from Epstein, but I really can't predict what's going to be happening next. And like I said, at Turning Point, every 3 days of every single person talking about it. I just don't even know.
It's not going away. I don't think it's going to go away. It's not going to go away until we see some real stuff here. And will we see some real stuff? I don't know. Are they going to wait for maybe a big story to drown this Epstein stuff out? I don't know. Maybe. But I just don't think it's going to go away. I think this is a real black eye on the administration. It's a real sore thumb. And it's just, man, it's just not a good look. I mean, I'm going to get over it. If we never see it, if we never see the Epstein files, I'll get over it. I mean, that's what am I going to do? I'm not going to just beat myself up over the Epstein files if we never see it. I'll get over it, move on. But it'll always be in the back of my mind. And anytime we talk about the Trump administration, if we talk about in the future or whatever, however much time we have, and we look back at the Trump administration, it's going to be a black eye. That's just what it is.
Yeah, we left off last episode with that White House faith meeting, which wasn't exclusively about Christ, but it was open to all faiths, although dominated by the Christian faith. And that brought me up to a 95%. But after the last few days of paying attention diligently to everything that's going on, I mean, this is where I'm at, 65% of Donald Trump. I wanted to be at 100.
Sorry, I would probably be at about a 51. I'd be at about a 51.
But you don't want one, right? I asked you. Well, in other news...
One's good enough. One's good enough.
In other news, why don't you take this away, Alex?
Yeah, so right up in our northern border, the DEA busts a Canadian narco whose Chinese supplier
the 4th of July weekend.
Promised to ship 100 kilos. Maybe if Matt can quit messing with stuff in the background, Matt. We got it. Just kidding. In a dramatic DEA operation, okay, this happened in Canada, authorities have arrested Opinder Singh, Sion. I probably butchered that name, but he's a senior Indo-Canadian gangster. I didn't know Canadians had gangsters. Linked to a very vast fentanyl trafficking network, sting which took place in Vancouver, revealed a pipeline shipping 100 kilos of fentanyl precursors monthly to Los Angeles. Sion, who leads the Brothers Keepers gang, the Brothers Keepers gang. That's interesting. That's a biblical name, Brothers Keepers. Am I my brother's keeper? Has connections to Mexican cartels and Chinese triads. The investigation, which began in June of 2022, involved undercover agents, extensive surveillance, blah, 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 blah. Here's the interesting part. Is Trump was talking about fentanyl coming from the northern border, talking about, I don't know if you guys remember when Trump was duly elected president, and what's his name? Trudeau had came, and they talked, they met, and Donald Trump had first initially called Governor Trudeau, and was talking about the fentanyl, and everybody in the North, everybody in Canada was saying, from the Canada media, wait, what are you talking about? We don't have a fentanyl problem. I don't know if you guys remember that or not. And it was, it only comes from the South. But somehow, and this is one of the areas where I say that Trump got it right. Okay. Apparently there was a big sting that took place that stopped 100 kilos from coming in. This was going to be a monthly thing coming into the United States from Canada. You have people from Canada that are 51st staters, or they are annexers, or people that want to be annexed by Donald Trump. I follow them on X. They were talking all about this, that this is another reason why Donald Trump should annex Canada. And so obviously we're not going to necessarily talk about that. Maybe you want to talk about it, Brother Matt. But,
the sad part is,
I think this is a serious problem.
I mean, of course, and the sad part is that things like this get overshadowed because what do we end up thinking in our mind? This is just a distraction.
Well, we start talking about Epstein. Yeah.
Well, or this is just a distraction from Epstein, And we just have to really seriously keep in mind, I wish I had the clip ready, but Roger Stone at Turning Point, he gave a really great speech on the final day, which was actually at the church service. And he ended the speech where he would say an accomplishment of Donald Trump, and then he would say, because he was emulating this conversation that he was having with a reporter, and the reporter would say, but what about the Epstein case? And then Roger Stone would repeat another accomplishment of Donald Trump within the past 6 months. But the reporter would say, but what about the Epstein case? And then another one, and what about the Epstein case? So, even when we know that I've had family members that have been lost to this whole fentanyl crisis. This thing is not a joke. It isn't like some small deal. And the unfortunate reality is that the way that news affects the human mind, or at least it affects my mind, is it overshadows and it sort of numbs down all of the good stuff that's going on right now because of this over Epstein nonsense. And Pam Bondi even had a press conference the other day here where they were announcing the Operation Take Back America announcement. Which let's go ahead and play that.
Kelsey, for being here with us. Over the 4th of July weekend, DEA agents executed successful operations throughout this country. One in Columbia, South Carolina, where they seized 71 kilos of fentanyl and 20 kilos of methamphetamine. This is very near the University of South Carolina, where dealers, we all know, often target college kids. They put these drugs in pill forms to go after our kids. This includes a seizure in Fresno, California, also 4th of July weekend. Acting Director Murphy is going to get into details about these, but this is why this is so important, and this is something new that I hadn't seen. 24 pounds of carfentanil disguised as real prescription pills. Carfentanil, we all know, is even stronger than fentanyl. They often call it the elephant tranquilizer. And it was carfentanil in prescription pills to look like
Yeah, that's big stuff, man.
Did you pause that intentionally?
I mean, no.
Oh. I didn't pause.
Did you?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, go ahead. Look, that's big stuff, man. I think that's a good thing. All these things are wins. These are all wins for the Trump administration. These are wins that we wouldn't have gotten with Kamala Harris or Joe Biden, for goodness sakes. And look, all of these things these wins that we're getting,
that I hadn't
it's
seen.
going to be overshadowed
24 pounds of
by
fentanyl.
the Epstein Files. Unfortunately, all these wins. This is a win. This is something that would be like, man, we're doing a good job. The Trump administration is doing a good job, but it's overshadowed by the Epstein Files, unfortunately, man. And you know what? And whose fault is that? It's no one else's but Donald Trump. And Trump, it's your fault. It's your fault that we have to think about the Epstein Files, and we can't really be like, man, look at this. This is good. Yeah, rah, rah, go get them. Go get them. Go get the drugs.
Prescription pills.
And it's like, man.
Carfentanil, we all know, is even stronger than fentanyl.
And our producer back there, what's our producer doing? What's wrong with our producer?
We will be out there fighting for you and your
Who's our
loved
producer?
ones. The most important reminder we can give you here today.
Guys, if you guys want to apply for producer, just send your application and resumes to faiththenation@gmail.com. Oh man, what do you guys think of the new Shield though? Let us know in the comment section. What do you guys think of the new Shield? You guys like the new Shield or not? It's pretty cool, right? And be sure to like, share, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Christ Forgiveness. Also, we have a Faith the Nation YouTube channel. Link to that is in the description below. Be sure to follow us on X. You can also find that link in the description below as well. And we appreciate your support. Thank you for all that have supported this ministry. We do really, really appreciate every single dollar, penny. It all helps us. Thank you.
Let me try this again to see if it actually will do it. Hold on, because this was illustrating our point.
Yeah. Let me take that first. This today is about fentanyl. This is about a wall of people right outside this room who have died from. I appreciate your question, but this today is about fentanyl overdoses throughout our country and people who have lost loved ones.
Oh yeah, she didn't want to talk.
That's the message that we're here to send today. Nothing about.
We're not talking about the Epstein Files anymore.
Oh my God, you just talked over her.
Question about what's driving this.
You just talked over her.
It's driven by profit. It's all it is.
Hit the rewind button.
There is no rewind button on this new program.
What did you want to hear? What did you want to hear? What did you want to hear?
I wanted to hear the part where she's like, we're not talking about Epstein. No, today is not about Epstein. Today's not. No.
Every day is about Epstein. Every day is about Epstein.
I mean, Trump is trying to talk about the Texas flooding, and they talk about Epstein. She's trying to talk about the DA's Epstein. I can't even get my own head out of the Epstein situation. Yes, indeed.
Well, let's turn to Ukraine and Russia. Let's do that.
Okay, I will.
Ukraine and Russia.
All right, here we go. Well, by I will do it, I mean I would press the button. But in a dramatic turn of events, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene has publicly criticized former President Donald Trump's recent decision to send advanced weaponry to Ukraine. This announcement made on July 15th comes just hours after Trump outlined a plan for European nations to bear the financial burden. Greene, a prominent MAGA figure, expressed her discontent, stating, "I said it on every rally stage, no more money to Ukraine. We want peace." Trump's pivot has sparked a civil war within the MAGA movement, another one, with Greene emphasizing that voters are more concerned about domestic issues than foreign conflicts. Meanwhile...
Well, let me just say something. Look, I like MTG, okay? I like her. I think she's got her head on on her shoulders right. She's biblical. She believes in the Bible. She's a good, solid Christian that's in political. She's representative in Georgia for House of Representatives. But, on this one, I just don't agree with her on. Okay, going against Trump. And look, I'm not necessarily for the funding of Ukraine either. But, at this stage in the game, I mean, in order to bring Putin to the table, you can't just not fund Ukraine, because then Russia's going to have all the cards, so to speak. Remember when he, ousted Zelensky and talking about you don't have the cards, right? It's a negotiation. And so, MTG, she's not a negotiator like Donald Trump is. So I just have to trust Donald Trump in that. And I believe that Donald Trump is doing the right thing to bring Putin to the table. He can't just let them fall.
Is there something in the art of war about all this? How you just cause us all to be fatigued to death and just exhaust us until we just bow to anything you say or do and just have complete trust in you, like Stockholm syndrome or something like this? Because they're talking about the Streisand effect that's taking place, but it's really not what's going on inside of me.
Yeah.
See, we were trying to talk about the Ukraine war, and I'm still going back to Epstein. I have mental illness. He did it. He killed me.
Jandro, pray for him. Pray for Matt. Pray for us. We need your prayers. We need your prayers, guys. Oh, man.
But that's my wonder, is it just us, though, who's having this level of fatigue because we're inundated in this news cycle all day long? Because the show might look like something to you guys, but in order to make this show, we have to read news and watch news, and clip news and do all this work just in order to know what's going on topically, just to be able to bring this thing to you guys, And I'm feeling it. And it's not like I can listen to the audio Bible while I'm doing this research or something, It's like I sort of have to concentrate. I'm used to being able to multitask, If only I could have my old problems back, which is lack of prayer, lack of worship, Now I have a new problem. The new problem is Jeffrey Epstein!
Epstein. I knew you were going to say that. Oh, man.
Well, this new video footage has came out here. Now it's going to have a little bit of cursing, Alex, but it's Donald Trump cursing, so hopefully it's not going to be too bad. Guys, check this one out. This is a leaked tape from Donald Trump. I don't know if you've seen this one, Alex.
Here it is.
Hey, Putin, I said, if you go in to Ukraine and go bomb Elon Musk, I'm telling you, I have no choice. The public wants it. The public. So he goes I don't believe you. He said, no way. And I said, way. And then he goes I don't believe you. But the truth is, he believed me 10%. And I told you this, he believed me 10%. Then I'm with President Xi of China. But I said the same thing to them. I said, if you go into Taiwan, I'm going to bomb Beijing. He thought I was crazy. He said, Beijing? You're going to bomb Beijing? I said, I have no choice. I got to bomb them. We're going to bomb Beijing. And he didn't believe me either, except 10%. And 10% is all you need. In fact, 5% would have been okay, too. And we never had a problem. We would have never had a problem.
Now, he's referencing the first administration when obviously he had face-to-face interactions with President Putin from Russia and Xi Jinping from China. And so, that's what he's referencing here. And so obviously, he's carrying that into, the second administration. And, how does this all tie in with the negotiations between Putin and Russia and the Ukraine war? Is, Donald Trump thought that he could just come in and just debo both countries. And look, Donald Trump has tried. I mean, we got to give him credit. He's tried to end the war in Ukraine, Ukraine and Russia. But look, I mean, as far as it goes, Russia's not giving in. They're already at war, and they understand that a negotiation is around the corner. Russia wants all the negotiating power in his court. and Ukraine just doesn't have it. And so again, we go back to Donald Trump saying that there's going to be weapons that are going to be given to Ukraine, defense weapons, offensive weapons, but it's not just going to be given to them. And I like what they're doing. They're actually going to be selling them to NATO. So it's not like we're just not going to get anything from them, and like we're just giving money away. So that is one positive, and I think that's definitely a positive. And obviously, we want the war to end. Nobody wants war, but at this point, you can't just leave Ukraine high and dry. They have to be able to defend themselves. They have good equipment, and NATO's going to buy them and distribute them. So. Producer, where's my producer at? What's my producer doing back there? Look, man, Matt, you're fired. You're fired. Yeah. Matt, you're fired.
I was trying to run to go get ice for my arm. You guys have to remember that.
Okay, you got to put your. Don't forget about your microphone, Matt.
Oh my gosh! I just. Hold on. Oh no! Man. What is this now? Oh gosh, Lord! What was that? Oh, it's some video.
Man. Matt.
Is someone talking? How is that thing even happening? Oh, it's the video. No, you have to remember that I have this thing going on with my arms. This crazy, horrible pain in my arm. Yeah.
Thanks, Matt. So, get to some of these comments here. Let's see. Jay is commenting the heck out of the chat right now. Thank you for all your comments, bro. Good to see you. He says, bro, it's been a big dilemma because of beliefs. I'm not sure what they're talking about, but anyways.
I just
trolling. It's called we do a little trolling.
All right. Anyhow, so let's go to the next one here. So Russia is ready to strike Russia must be ready to strike the West if it escalates the Ukraine war. Medvedev says.
I'll call it. Well, when they say the West, I think they're talking about NATO or the NATO countries. I don't think they're talking about the United States. I mean, but at the same time, even if they strike Article 5 states that if they strike one NATO country, then basically you've struck them all. So, I think that's just gaslighting coming from Russia. I don't think Russia wants to do that. I think Russia has showed themselves to be a paper tiger, especially with the Ukraine war. We thought the Ukraine war would have been ended within 2 weeks. I remember when we were saying that when the war first started, and it's been, what has it been? 3 years now, almost, if not 2 years, two or 3 years now, and Russia's lost a lot of people. Ukraine's lost a lot of people, unfortunately. But I think Russia has showed themselves to be a paper tiger. They're not as strong as we thought. The only thing that gives them strength is the nuclear bombs, the nuclear weapons. And so, of course, nobody wants a nuclear war. But let's be honest here. Russia that says that they're ready to strike the West if it escalates,
which we are.
Which we are already. Yeah, we're already doing it. So yeah. What? So I just.
No, 100%. I think it's a pretty big deal. Russia condemned the U.S. Condemned our decision to increase the arms shipments to Ukraine, and the announcement just made this morning. It signals Kiev that it should abandon any hopes for peace negotiations. Russian officials, including Deputy Chairman of the Security Council Dmitry Medvedev, however you pronounce that, have labeled the U.S. actions as blackmail and warned of potential preemptive strikes if the situation escalates. Trump has set a 50-day deadline for Moscow to agree to ceasefire or face tougher sanctions, including 100% tariffs on Russian goods. The ongoing conflict, which began in February of 2022, has resulted in already an estimated 1.2 million casualties. At least it's not deaths, making it Europe's deadliest conflict since World War II. And as the war continues,
that's what that is.
Well, casualties. Oh, yeah, is casualties death?
Yes.
1.2 million deaths.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah, that's a lot, man.
And I'm over here catching up on the Gilded Age.
Yeah, and worried about Epstein.
Season 3, episodes 1 through 4. You know, there's very few television shows that are clean enough that I can actually watch nowadays.
Yes, Toddler Mama says, "Be healed, Matt, in Jesus' name."
My arm and my mind.
Yes, yes. No, but in all seriousness, though, Matt, yeah, it's 1.2 million, unfortunately, that's taken place in that war. And you know, we always talk about, you know, people want to bring up the genocide in Israel or in Gaza, but we don't talk about how many deaths that have been taking place in Ukraine and Russia. Like that is, it's just been a terrible travesty what's been happening over there
since World War II. The greatest number of deaths since World War II, and the way that my life is being lived completely in La La Land over here. You know, building advertising TV cart scooters in the backyard and complaining about what I complain about on a daily basis. And 1.2 million people have died over there. I am so morally and consciously disconnected from what's happening over there in Ukraine. It boggles the mind of how that's even possible for me.
Yeah, and if I could say, like, I understand MTG, and when we say MTG, we're talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene, okay, the representative coming out of Georgia, Republican. You know, she's, you know, basically going against Trump, you know, about, you know, funding the war over there. And it's not the same thing that we were doing with Biden. See, it's completely different. Trump has agreed to sell to NATO, and then NATO will distribute to Ukraine. But see, this is all an effort to bring Putin to the table. And when you have Medvedev say that you know, this is going to cause escalation, and that, you know, you can forget about a peace deal now. Look, that's just gaslighting. We haven't gotten to a peace deal even before that. So, like, why are we going to believe them? Okay, we're not going to believe them. Trump, we're done believing Russia is coming to the table for a peace deal. It's time,
I got to believe somebody. I was believing Russia. I mean, that's another thing back and forth, bro. I was on the side of Russia, okay? I was over here saying that we started this whole thing with Ukraine. Right?
Well, we did.
I know, but literally, I thought that when Trump got into office, Russia was going to turn out being the good guy, and now I can't. I'm flipped on my head every other minute over here. Remember, I left all of this news garbage 8 years ago because at least I knew that, because I was a mouthpiece for this on the streets, I would repeat the conspiracies. You know, I left it because I felt the Lord told me to. But really, because so I wouldn't accidentally lie people when I was relaying my opinion, you know? And now I feel like I'm at the exact same stage again, where it's like, what good is any of my opinions, you know? What good is any awareness of the news? And by the way, like and subscribe to Faith the Faith of Nations so you can continue being tortured like we are, vicariously living through us in our pain. But there's a whole heck of a lot going on right now. Israel and Iran, okay? The war in Ukraine. Now the war in Syria. What's happening in Nigeria. Literally, I might really be starting to believe that we really are in the end times. You know, I'm one of these guys that, because I've heard every generation, you know, has been saying that same thing. And with the increase of technology and information, I thought it might be possible, but little by little, I'm coming closer and closer. And hey, maybe this Israel really is the end times Israel, man. Maybe everything really does add up, because this news cycle is absolutely insane on the war front and the loss of life.
Yeah. Let's go to what do we want to go to? Do we want to talk about the mark of the beast? And we talk about Israel versus Christians, Trump tariffs. I'm kind of thinking mark of the beast here, man. Matt, what do you think?
Why don't you go ahead?
Okay, going to cue me up. So the crypto bill, is the crypto bill the mark of the beast? And this is a bill called the Genius Act. I don't know if Genius Act actually means something, okay? But this is a move that is taking place as we speak for the future of digital currency in the United States. Senate has passed the Genius Act, which aims to regulate stablecoins by granting federally chartered banks exclusive authority to issue them. This legislation, which passed with bipartisan support, seeks to ensure that any digital representation of the dollar remains within the regulated banking system. The Genius Act could inadvertently pave the way for a retail central bank digital currency, or CBDC, system, as it allows commercial banks to issue stablecoins backed by dollar reserves. With the bill now awaiting House approval, experts warn that while it may enhance consumer safety, it could also concentrate market power among a few large banks, potentially limiting competition and access to digital financial assets. Essentially, okay, in layman's terms, we have the Genius Act, okay, which is supposed to give rocket fuel to the cryptocurrency market, Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and all those. Is what they're trying to do now is basically bring some kind of stabilization within the market by producing its own stable coins. What a stable coin is a coin that shouldn't necessarily go up or down, but it should be stable to act as a type of U.S. dollar, so to speak, but within the crypto space. Now, the problem with this is that this bill, and one of the things that I like is this is, again, MTG. She's been in the news a lot. Okay, we're talking about MTG going against Trump, against Ukraine. And while I didn't agree with her, I actually agree with her right here. Cue this video up for us.
Well, why don't you continue? Because looks like you didn't mark any segments in it.
I didn't mark any segments in it. What? Okay, that's all right. Well, is there which video is it? Let me see. Can you at least play it, and I'll tell you where to go? No.
Here, let's play this other one. Let's play this other one first, and I'll fix it.
Okay. Cue us up, Matt. Where's all of our videos, dude, of MTG? You know what? Let me just share the screen, dude. I'm just going to share the screen here. Let me go to X. Let me see here. Where do I go here? X home. Okay, let's go. Okay, let's see where we at here. MTG. Let's go to this one right here. This was MTG talking to Steve Bannon. And I think it's around the 40-second mark where she begins talking about it right here.
In 2025, when no one is paying attention, no one's talking about it, everyone is in blind rage about the Epstein files, and I don't blame them. However, right now, what is being voted on today in Congress is the entire setup, groundwork, and an entire infrastructure being laid to move from cash to digital currency. And the number one thing that is not happening today is a ban on a central bank digital currency. This means the ability for the government to take control of your digital bank account where all your money is and turn it off. And this is why I'm so upset and it's not being talked about. Steve, I was the only no vote on the rule last night. And Congress set a record last night, and no one's talking about that either. This was the longest vote held open for a rule in history, And it finally shut down sometime around midnight because there was a deal made, and the deal will not be honored. It was a deal that Speaker Johnson made, and he said that he would put a ban on central bank digital currency in the NDAA. But let me tell you something, that's going to get stripped out in the Senate, because what they told us all week long is the Senate does not have the votes to pass a ban on a central bank digital currency. So I want to lay this out straight for you all. You never thought in your lifetime that the government would shut you down, would close your churches, would close your schools, would close your business. And that happened only a few years ago. But what is happening today is the groundwork is being laid, and it's all in the name of cryptocurrency and stablecoin, but it is the entire regulatory process to switch us from cash to a cashless society to digital currency that can be controlled by the federal government. And there will be no ban on a central bank digital currency. There will be no way to protect your ability to fully control your digital currency in the future. And I'm voting no to this today. I don't know if there'll be any other no votes on the Republican side, but I'm voting no to this because I'm a Christian and I've read the Bible and I believe what Revelations 13, 16 through 17 says. And I just cannot vote for a future system that will do that.
And so there you have it. Again, MTG is stating her thoughts on this Genius Act, which, interestingly enough, Matt, we talk about it a lot, how, there's things in the government or the things in the news that overshadow certain things that, the House of Representatives or bills that are getting passed. And you got to kind of wonder, what's going on with the thing, as she was starting off in that video talking about how the Epstein Files, everybody's talking about the Epstein Files, but then all of a sudden here comes this act, right? And it's trying to get passed, right? And she goes on to say later on, she's talking to Steve Bannon, and, she's saying how we didn't even know that there was another bill being introduced except Monday. Like, we all knew about the big, beautiful bill. But now all of a sudden, out of nowhere, here comes this Genius Act, and they don't even have time to even really go through it. And Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, isn't giving any of the representatives the opportunity to amend it. That he was just forcing them to just vote yes or no. And obviously, they have to. They're being forced almost to vote yes because it's under the guise of Donald Trump's agenda. And so, we start talking about that Trump meter. Where's our faith level in all this? Man, it just might be a little bit below 50% right about now with all of this. And so, right now, where it's at, this bill, the Act bill or the Genius Act. It went to the House. It passed the House. It goes to the Senate. The Senate just voted on it today. They voted yes. Now it goes back to the House for one last vote. And so, we'll see. We'll see where it happens. I mean, at the end of the day, you just can't outpray prophecy. You just can't outpray prophecy. God's will be done. Scripture will be fulfilled. And it just is what it is. Brother Matt.
Yeah, I agree. On the cryptocurrency front, there's a whole lot to be said about all this. And as usual, I think that Alex Jones really did it sort of justice. Let's see if we can get this thing.
It's really hard to overstate how dangerous it is. It is literally the mark of the beast system, a global social credit score, the ESG corporate governance systems right down into your smart devices, your phone, the smart appliances, the AI, surveilling everyone in live time. As you know, China's already had it in place about 7 years. Ground robots, drones being directed by it. The goal is you can't leave 1 foot outside your house, to quote the Chinese Communist government, if you're not in good standing. You can't get on a train, you can't rent a car, you can't rent a hotel, you can't have a job. And the UN, the WEF, and others for decades, and Bill Gates has been heavily involved, have already created the standardization for this with China for a global rollout of central bank digital currencies that the nations then comport to. And essentially, it'll end up being one big global corporate new currency that would replace the dollar. So Trump wisely in the last few years said he is against any central bank digital currency system, and he would oppose one foreign, which is basically what the BRICS is forming, and that he would oppose one here. And he has supported Bitcoin and things that actually diversify currencies to the public that are free and open and open source and a competing market of currencies, which is the answer. And so it's really the ring of Sauron to bind everybody together with total control. And we have the head of the IMF and the World Bank and the International Mega Settlements and the head of the UN and all of them. We have Tedros, the head of the WHO, saying we need a global central bank digital currency to control everything you do, to lock you down during new pandemics they've got planned. This is the mechanism. It'll be your internet ID. It'll do everything. And if we think as populist and conservatives and Christians and common sense people that we've been debanked and harassed as conservatives before, this is exponentially more dangerous. And the big international banks that the Federal Reserve is part of, private, they have said this is their holy grail, and they're really, really trying to roll it out. And so the fact that there is a pathway to this with a digital central bank digital currency dollar in this Genius Act, and that only MTG and you and a few others have been exposing it is a nightmare.
Yeah. No, and listen, I mean, I'm the first to say because I don't trust the internet and trust internet consensus, and I don't like when people have certainty about this is going to be this is going to be that. But I can tell you that from the beginning of Satoshi Nakamoto, with the advent of Bitcoin, having been anonymous, not knowing who created it, there's always been speculations that perhaps it was a CIA, an NSA type of operation per se, and within the crypto community, in the beginning, cryptocurrency was seen not as a way to make millions and millions of dollars by holding on to your coins. Okay. What it was an alternative to what we called fiat, right? In terms of the idea that the United States dollar used to be backed by gold and silver. Ron Paul and the Austrian School of Economics really brought that to our attention of how that's not the case anymore. And that now, by the issuance of the 16th Amendment, which is claimed not to even have been ratified by the necessary 2/3 of the states, in the advent of the creation of the Federal Reserve, being a private bank, and as we see that the president doesn't have any role in terms of the director, or nor can he actually direct his operations or even fire him. That the private bank of the United States that the Federal Reserve of the United States is actually a private bank is at the paramount of the libertarian conspiracy world per se. And this school of thought is really brought to us by Edward G. Griffin, who wrote the book The Creature from Jekyll Island, and explains the origins of the creation of the Federal Reserve. And the reason why I mention this is because we had always looked at this as the conditioning so that for the population to accept digital currency. Okay. Now the idea is that before Bitcoin went from $20 to $120, and then started scaling into the thousands, and people like myself wish that they hadn't spent it on smoothies and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. When it was something that you would want to hold on to as what they would say is digital gold, it was an experiment for how we could return to state sovereignty, having control over its own currencies. I don't know if you know this, but in the United States of America, a state cannot print its own currency. The Federal Reserve Act dictates that we are bound by the one United States dollar. And so, Bitcoin and digital currencies and the idea of the blockchain and the decentralization component of it from the beginning was always looked at as a playground for experimentation by libertarian school of thought and economicists. However, there has always been the idea that And I was actually one of the early adopters of this school of thought. I used to be on programs like the Alex Jones Show and such, discussing my theory of how Bitcoin could be controlled, the very same way that if you were to hack an Excel spreadsheet and inject 30,000 records, and if the result of that Excel spreadsheet is you're trying to compute what is the average of this particular column, that I can control the current price of anything by manipulating the number of records within that particular spreadsheet. So it's been my theory, and which I actually have evidence of, is that the bots, which used to be rumor, are now accepted as whales control their own bots, countries control their own bots. That Bitcoin is now subject to manipulation, and what has happened is, as people have become rich off of Bitcoin, it is no longer a libertarian hobbyist experiment in decentralization, but a get rich quick scheme. And the reason why I say that is because that was what has garnered so much attention to it nowadays. And although we don't see people using cryptocurrency for the day-to-day spending, the reason why it is because you don't use it for your day-to-day spending, because if you think that if you use it, then you're going to miss out on it going up, which is why stable coins were invented. So stable coins are supposed to be USDC, USDT, these type of currencies that are pegged to every other cryptocurrency, so that we have the freedom to say, okay, I'm not going to worry about spending my stable coin out in the world, because I know that there's no volatility of this particular stable coin. So as came the advent of the stable coin, it was nearly impossible. And by the way, I thought it was absolute genius. I didn't anticipate that move. I never thought that would take place. But the idea that the federal governments would also initialize their own type of stable coin, pegging cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin to it, I think is a natural order of things. And inevitably, I don't think that the adoption of cryptocurrency and its replacement for the stock markets. Most people nowadays, kids who are in their 20s and 30s, they don't own a Wells Fargo market to trade in the NASDAQ or in the Dow, but they do have a cryptocurrency wallet. And all that to be said is, I'm the first to say this is a conspiracy. I've seen it with my own eyes. The markets have been manipulated. The price of Bitcoin got to be where it is today by bots and by whales and by manipulation. And I believe the reason why that is to foment attention to Bitcoin and attention to decentralized currencies, so that when this moment comes, it would seem as the natural evolution of things.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, we are taking off to the moon. Meme coin season is right around the corner. Pack your bags. No, I'm just kidding. Kidding, not kidding. I invest in crypto here and there. But I've always thought that, there's a possibility that it could turn into some kind of a mark of the beast or beast system type of currency. And I've always just made up in my mind that, it could be that I could have to just let it go. And if that's the case, that's the case. And, and I do pray that maybe God can give us wisdom to earn some type of a wealth or something like that, buy some land, cash out, buy some land and live off the land, perhaps, maybe. But we'll see.
It just seems to be the natural evolution of things. I mean, as much as I think there is a conspiracy behind the advertising of it and getting it so accepted within, under a decade, I do think that it's brilliant technology. And as far as technology goes, the way that the clearinghouses work for the normal trust and what? Yeah. Anyhow, the way that the clearinghouses work within the traditional banking system, I mean, the advent of blockchain is far more sophisticated. But these technologies can either be used for good or for evil, and we're going to see how it all ends up inevitably working out. In terms of whether it's the mark of the beast or not, I don't know what else would have the capability of tracking you, like the Bible says, except for something like crypto.
I think the mark is something that the mark is going to be something that obviously enters into the hand or the forehead, and it's going to be able to control the way you buy. cryptocurrency is the currency, or perhaps maybe cryptocurrency is the currency that could be used for the beast system. But the mark of the beast is just the mark. It's not the encompassing beast system. The beast system is, all of it, so to speak. But anyhow.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, finishing up here, the Area 51 came into the picture. I'm no fan of aliens, but a massive wildfire known as the Gothic Fire is currently raging near Area 51 in Nevada, raising concerns among UFO enthusiasts about the potential destruction of historic evidence. The fire, which ignited on July 4th from a lightning strike, has rapidly expanded from 9,000 acres to 35,000 acres over recent days. Located just 15 miles from the infamous Air Force Base, the blaze has prompted dramatic surveillance footage capturing plumes of smoke rising ominously close to the facility. Fortunately, officials report that no structures are threatened, and firefighting efforts are focused on containment rather than suppression. The Bureau of Land Management. What?
Hey, let's let's move that thing. Yeah, never mind. Just continue. I'm sorry. Dude,
on another note, I know that many in the media have been speculating about bruising on the president's hand and also swelling in the president's legs. So in the effort of transparency, the president...
Hey, just pause that for a second. Yeah, let's pause that. Let's give that a little run a little bit. Let's just look, apologize. We pull up articles, and sometimes they pull up some of the weirdest things on the advertising on these things. You can't.
I didn't get a chance to see it. What was it?
Yeah, I don't even know what it was. It was like some kind of
it's like human bodies
candle that was showing a body of a woman, and it was just not the best. So just want to apologize for that. When you pull up an article, you get all kinds of weird advertisements, and that was one of those things that we just don't control. So sorry about that.
Good Lord. Anyhow, on that note, Alex the Prude Estrada censoring the eyes and ears, he has your back, ladies and gentlemen. He wants to keep your eyes and your ears clean from things that you see in the mirror every single day. God bless you, Alex. Instead, we're
just trying to keep it holy, man. Okay, this is Faith the Nation. Okay, we're not going to be like those other chinos out there. Okay,
Ouch!
we got these other chinos. Okay, we call them chinos, Christians in name only podcast. Okay, they say they're Christians, but then they're cursing, right? Then they're giving you all the kind of crazy stuff. They bring on people. Like that guy from the UK.
But Alex, that was our clickbait. That was our way in order to reach people who want alien stuff, right? And now that segment has been destroyed, right? What we wanted to do is discuss how aliens don't exist. They are demons, right?
Man.
And that was supposed to be our segue, but you destroyed it! And I'm just
block it out, dude. Just, maybe just, put this, or something. I don't know.
I enjoy screaming like that. It's part of my personality. I find it funny. If you find it offensive, then I have someone's number that you can call. First initial J, last initial R, and I'll leave it at that.
Yes. Well, sorry about that. Sorry for ruining it. But it was bad. Anyways. Okay. Well, it wasn't that bad. I mean, it was.
They said it was Alex. They said it was a sugar fat ad. A sugar fat ad?
It's like, yeah, but it just wasn't good though. It didn't look good. Okay, let us know in the comments. Did it look good? Was it not appropriate? You guys let us know. Okay, I don't think it was the best. So just let me know if you guys think it wasn't appropriate for the show. Let us know in the comments. Please let us know. We want to hear from you. You guys are viewers. Okay, so we want to keep you guys around.
To tell you the truth, doesn't matter what they think. All that matters is what you think, boss, and that's fine, no problem. But yes, I'll just recap by saying there that aliens, I can tell you 100%, are spiritual beings that are described in the Bible. Do I know whether they are fallen angels? No. Do I know whether they're demons? No. But they are beings that are counterfeiting beings that pretend, and will, if you communicate with you, they're going to act like aliens in the same way that if you go to a psychic, a real one, and they speak to someone they say is your Uncle Jethro or your Aunt Susan, these are spirits that reside in what the Bible calls the second heaven, reserved in chains of darkness, known as the ether in the New Age world. And that just like the spirits, when you go to a psychic, pretend to be your Uncle Jeb, well, these aliens, they're pretending, they're actually demons or fallen angels. They're pretending to be aliens because they want you to believe in aliens. Because aliens is a way for you to stop believing in God. Aliens, when you believe in aliens, you've got a long, deep rabbit hole that you get to go down of never-ending gurus and experts that will just titillate the mind and give you itching ears for just literally decades. I know because I was one of those people. Listening to George Norrie and Coast to Coast AM, midnight every day to 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. In the beginning, before I knew the Lord, I can tell you that I cared very much about this phenomenon of aliens. And it wasn't until I bumped into the idea that aliens actually react. If you're one of these people that are having a problem with alien activity, like your abductions, or if they, for some reason, those aliens like the buttocks, right? If you're dealing with any of that, what happens is anal probes, right, Alex? I know that might be too much for you, that face. I don't know if that was because you didn't know or because you just don't want to talk about it. But nonetheless, is that if the aliens react to the name of Jesus, and that's verifiable information, and you can command an alien to go in the name of Jesus. So what you want to do, I think it was, what's his name? Not Chuck Norris, but Chuck Missley? Anyhow, I can't remember. Chuck Missler is a pastor who's the pioneer of one of this stories that I bumped into 10, 15 years ago. And he creates a catalog of testimonies of people who have actually had encounters with these aliens, have invoked the name of Jesus, and has seen, as a result, these things dematerialize or reveal themselves as what we would call, from the Bible, demons. So with that being said, the reason why that matters is because you need to stop investigating aliens, and you need to start investigating the scriptures, starting hopefully with the New Testament. You can start with the Gospel of Mark. It's the shortest of the 4 Gospels. And then immediately proceed from the Gospel of Mark into the book of Acts, where you get to see what your life should look like as a believer and what the apostles' life looked like after the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ, and the release of the Holy Spirit onto the earth to lead, guide, and direct those who would call themselves the sons of God, who repented of their sins, who recognize good from evil and how they have been brainwashed by millennia of kings and culture. And then once you're done with the book of Acts, you can start practicing what you saw in the book of Acts, and everywhere that you see it says that the apostles did that, know that it wasn't just the apostles that are supposed to do that, but you too. For everything, all the gifts and all of the supernatural acts that we see in the book of Acts are for every believer. But it's not just for fame and fortune or for a stage or the pulpit. It's to actually demonstrate and prove that the written word of God, which is the foundation stone, miracles are not the foundation. The foundation comes from the faith that comes from reading the word of God. But one of the best miracles that exists is that you would read the word of God and actually believe that it's true. So if you're researching aliens, I want to recommend to you this thing called the Bible. And I want to recommend that you don't actually start with this idea that you might have heard that the King James Bible is the only Bible. Because those of you that are living in the 21st century, the King James Bible, a blood-bathed book, 200-300 years ago, would swear by it, but today it's a stumbling block for you, and it'll likely make you fall asleep and say, I hate the Bible, I don't understand anything all about that, unless you happen to be a fan of Shakespeare. So all of that being said, don't worry about Area 51. Let's let it be burnt to the ground, and we just don't care. Did you actually have that Charlie Kirk thing pulled up over there? Because Alex, you didn't create a segment out of it.
Just do the whole. You can't do the whole thing, or what?
I was trying to blame you. It actually didn't load.
It didn't load.
It didn't load for some reason. Maybe I turned it off in the middle when you were trying to do it.
Yeah. Well, let me. I think I have it on YouTube, or not YouTube, but did I not? Man, dude, what's up with that thing, dude?
Well, don't blame me. Here, I can bring it up real quick. Hold on a second.
Charlie Kirk venerates.
Here, I'm putting it in the chat room since you already got your thing open. Okay. Here's the link.
Here we go. Here, I'll just share it. I can just share it here.
Yeah,
share my screen here.
Yep, I'm ready. You gotta share your screen though.
Yeah.
Clearly important to early.
Okay, hold on. Let me start this over here real quick here. So, reason why we brought him up, obviously Charlie Kirk's Christian. I think he's a solid Christian. I believe he has solid doctrine, or somewhat. I mean, I don't necessarily, probably won't agree with all of them. He's probably more of the Baptist cessationist.
I thought it was a 7-day Venous, because at the turning point now, the 2 turning point events I've been to, there he's allowing the Great Controversy book to be passed out like crazy. Thousands and thousands of copies of the Great Controversy are given out as you try to enter into the as you leave the exhibit hall and you're entering into the main stage. There's brothers that are giving away the Great Controversy. So I thought he was 7-day Adventist, okay, but then at this year's turning point, he actually had Daniel Kalinda as the lead pastor. So then I was like, oh, okay.
Daniel Kalinda is very charismatic.
Extremely charismatic.
So, yeah, so it's kind of interesting. But anyways, here's Charlie Kirk. He shares his thoughts today that Protestant evangelical Christianity under-venerates Mary, and that modern church has lost her connection to the, I don't know if he says Mother God. Well, let's just hear what he has to say about this.
But let me first say, I think we as Protestant evangelicals under-venerate Mary. She was very important. She was a vessel for our Lord and Savior. I think that we as evangelicals and Protestants, we've overcorrected. We don't talk about Mary enough. We don't venerate her enough. Mary was clearly important to early Christians. There's something there. In fact, I believe one of the ways that we fix toxic feminism in America is Mary is the solution. Have more young ladies be pious, be reverent, to be full of faith, slow to anger, slow to words at times. Mary is a phenomenal example, and I think a counter to so much of the toxicity of feminism in the modern era. But let me first say, I think we as Protestant...
yeah, I mean, obviously, he doesn't say the Mary, Mother of God. That's obviously somebody who's speaking from a Catholic perspective. But I actually think that what he's saying is not far from the truth, per se, in a sense of like, Mary could be a good example. I think that's definitely good. But it's interesting, though, because Scripture doesn't use Mary as the example of womanhood.
Right. That's what I was thinking.
Scripture actually uses Sarah, Abraham's wife, as an example of womanhood. Now, that's not to say that you couldn't use Mary as an example. I mean, I'm sure you could. But I think what's happening here, there's a lot of Roman Catholic orthodoxy that is coming in a regent type of way in the Christian world. It's making a run for conversions. People are converting to Catholicism. People are converting to Orthodoxy in a mass number. And while I don't agree with it, I think in some ways it's good for Christianity in a sense that people are talking about Christianity. People are discussing things of the Bible. But I have to wonder, Brother Matt, is Charlie Kirk perhaps drinking some of the Catholic Kool-Aid, some of these influencers that are Catholic, and
I don't think so. I think what you said earlier is the case. I think it's sort of I really see him as a really good mediator and a good steward of his resources and the attention that he receives. So it's odd because he does all this debating and stuff, but I think he actually does it with quite a good attitude and good spirit. And I don't see him as a contentious person. I think early on in his career, when he was a little bit younger, perhaps he had a little bit of attitude, and you see a little bit of smirking going on and things, right? But in recent years, like when you've got a pink-haired liberal show up on stage, I see his body language like indicate that he's giving them respect. He's pausing the crowd, and I think he's had a like trying to be a peacemaker and fill the gap with everybody. And so therefore there's a little bit of meandering going on to the, like you said, the Catholic as well as the Orthodox side of things. And I also agree with what you said because I have no problem with Mary. I love Mary. Great. I mean, literally because of the Catholics and the Orthodox, like they make me feel bad, that I don't have such great reverence for her. Right. But it's almost as like there's a Mary in the scriptures that I can relate to a whole lot more, and that's Mary Magdalene, and anybody that was a sinner, and wasn't blessed to be living almost like a respectful stand-up life before the Lord in order to be blessed to incarnate the Lord within her body, I relate to a whole lot more, than someone who was blessed amongst a woman like Mary. And I don't see Mary as being the representation of faith that I learned from in the New Testament. I'm not a huge scholar of the Old Testament, so I also don't see, people like Esther, I guess you would say as well, would be a pretty good example. But, the characters in the Bible that I speak of, that carry reverence for women, what are some in the New Testament that we could think of? Well,
in the New Testament, even Peter, right? You would think Peter would talk about Mary in his epistles.
It's like,
but
he doesn't. Like, what's her name? It's Mary,
it's
and what's the other lady's name? What's the Mary, and what's the other? Like,
there was three Marys.
No, the one that was at Jesus' feet, and then there was the one that was cooking and cleaning.
There was Mary Magdalene. There was Mary, the mother of Christ.
No. Come on, the one where we always say that, hey, don't be a Mary, be a this, because there's the Mary that was laboring before the Lord, and then there was the Mary who was making all the food.
I don't even know. Did they say her name?
Yeah, I always say that I'm the other lady all the time. I'm the one, in the restaurant cooking all the food, preparing things for the Lord, looking at the other Mary who's at the Lord's feet. What is the name of that person? Chat room, come on now. ChatGPT would be able to tell us in a second.
Yeah. Let me get this guy out of here.
Well, let's first answer him. Let's first answer him. Come on, Alex.
Yeah. Well, like I would say this. Let me just say this.
Margaret? No. Mary and...
No. Well, yeah, let me just say this, though. I mean, if anybody, especially if you're Catholic, if you would think anybody would mention Mary as the example for, Christian women. And again, I'm not saying that she couldn't be. That's not what I'm saying here. But you would think that Peter, of all people, would mention Mary. But he doesn't. Peter actually mentions Sarah, Abraham's wife, as the example of what it is to be a godly woman. And, maybe it's because obviously the lineage comes through Abraham and Sarah, down to Isaac, to Jacob, to everybody else, perhaps. Maybe that's why. But anyhow, I think I like Charlie Kirk. I think he's strong. I think he's a solid Christian. I support him. I like what he's doing with Turning Point. But I just think that maybe he's meandering a little bit to some of the Catholic buddies
Martha
here in this one.
Martha.
Yeah.
Mary and Martha. From Luke chapter 10, of course.
That's all I got to say. But I got no beef with Charlie Kirk. I like Charlie Kirk. But, I just think he's kind of pandering, to his case.
He's a very, I would say, a very, very staunch Protestant. So I don't think we have anything to worry about there. But those Seventh-day Adventists are in the Protestant circles, and I have a lot of respect for Seventh-day Adventists. I think that they're the best of all the cults. I think there's a lot of people who are in SDA that are like I've learned. I was discipled on the internet by a lot of SDA people because they're very heavily into conspiracy people, like Dr. Walter White and stuff. Anyhow, so we intended to do a 1-hour show. But of course.
Well, I got some breaking news.
Okay.
I got some breaking news. Share my screen, brother Matt.
Yep.
We got some breaking news, guys. Okay. Based on the ridiculous amount, this just came out from Donald Trump's True Social account, based on the ridiculous amount of publicity given to, we just can't get away from him. He just does not die, pun intended. I have asked Attorney General Pam Bondi to produce any and all pertinent grand jury testimony subject to court approval. This scam perpetrated by the Democrats should end right now. It's not going to end. It's not going to end.
Really? Oh my gosh, Trump, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Is he really going to do it, or is tomorrow going to reverse? If so, I'll be at a 95%.
Look, I went to his True Social account. Yeah, I went.
Literally 1 second, my hopes just went straight up. Praise God.
This is his True Social account right here. So you can see it right here. Just so you guys know, this is his. So this was given an hour ago. So apparently tomorrow we're going to have a live stream, a special Epstein live stream event tomorrow. Oh man. So at Jeffrey Epstein, he just does not die.
Let's read it again. There'll give you some sobriety. Based on the ridiculous amount of publicity given to Jeffrey Epstein, I have asked Attorney General Pam Bondi to produce any and all pertinent grand jury testimony subject to court approval. All right, so let's turn this into a whole nightmare and deconstruct this, all right? So we're asking for the client list, right? And we're asking essentially for, when we say client list, meaning the people whom are responsible, right, that we have evidence of through all of the seized records during the arrest of Ghislaine as well as Jeffrey Epstein. But what Trump is going to give us is the pertinent grand jury testimony, okay, which is the evidence that was presented to the grand jury in order to indict, and which would have been presented in court have Jeffrey Epstein lived. So I'm not going to poo-poo it, we don't even know what they have in the first place, right? So the idea that the information that was given to the grand jury in order to gather the indictment, that's something that Trump could read. He could say, okay, listen, this is safe. I'm not in any of that stuff. Go ahead and do it. I wonder if this is going to make everything end. I think if he would have said all and any everything related to Jeffrey Epstein, then that would have ended it and felt good. But I feel we're going to wake up in the morning seeing more scrutiny there about what the grand jury testimony just not being good enough. But Trump, you've beaten me to a pulp. I'm up to 95%. I can't stand to drop back down to 65% or even below. And whatever you want, Trump, fine. I'm just trusting you, man. I'm trusting you. If I get proven to be a fool and you were some part of this New World Order and everything, and you're just here to give us COVID vaccine and kill everybody and get our hopes up and bring in the mark of the beast, and all of my friends online that didn't find Christ but are still conspiracy nuts, and they're all right, whatever. But as for me, I'm blindly trusting you. You have beaten all of the skepticism out of me. You win.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm just not trusting that we're going to get it all. I don't think it's going to be very good stuff. We'll see. I mean, I'm just not going to put my hopes really high or anything like that. Sheesh, man. This is, man, it just keeps on coming, bro. Hold on a second. Hold on. The Wall Street Journal and Rupert Murdoch personally were warned directly by President Donald J. Trump that the supposed letter they printed by President Trump, is President Trump even writing this? He said they printed by President Trump to Epstein was a fake. So the Wall Street Journal and Rupert personally were warned by President Trump that supposed letter they printed by President Trump to Epstein was fake, and if they print it, they will be sued. Mr. Murdoch stated that he would take care of it, but obviously did not have the power to do so. The editor of the Wall Street Journal, Emma Tucker, was told directly by Carolyn Levitt and by President Trump that the letter was a fake, but Emma Tucker didn't want to hear that. Instead, they're going with a false, malicious, and defamatory story anyway. President Trump will be suing the Wall Street Journal, News Corp, and Mr. Murdoch shortly. The press has to learn to be truthful and not rely on sources that probably don't even exist. President Trump has already beaten George Stephanopoulos, Slopadopoulos, as he says, ABC, 60 Minutes, CBS, and others looking forward to suing and holding accountable the once great Wall Street Journal. It has truly turned out to be a disgusting and filthy rag, and writing defamatory lies like this. So, let me just finish this. It says, if there were any truth at all on the Epstein hoax as it pertains to President Trump, this information would have been revealed by Comey, Brennan, Crooked Hillary, and other radical left lunatics years ago. It certainly would not have sat in a file waiting for Trump to have won 3 elections. So are they saying that there is, quote unquote, false incriminating evidence?
A letter written by... So it's a letter written by Jeffrey Epstein to Donald Trump that probably details intimacy and the way that the letter is written as if they were friends and they knew each other well, or references that would make Donald Trump look bad, is my guess. And we're about to see tomorrow as we wake up, right, or maybe even this evening, it'll drop. So President Trump is just going on the defense, and...
he's preemptively defending what is about to drop.
Yeah. Yes, that's what's happening.
So this is happening now live. Yeah.
Yeah, and like this letter would be an example of things that were in the quote unquote Epstein files, right? That he is saying was fake, right? And that Rupert Murdoch admitted was fake per se. So
yeah.
Great. I'm just like, man, you should have told us this a week ago. If you would have came out, bro, and you'd be like, there's a letter in there that's fake. What do I care? Lie to me. Just like, don't lie to me in such a way where it's ridiculous, taking me on an emotional roller coaster. But I'm literally willing to believe you anyways, okay? I mean, under your presidency, horrific things happened, okay? And you passed... you are the one who brought in a vaccine that has killed millions of people, right? I've chosen to give you the benefit of doubt. I'm obviously mentally ill.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know, like that's
I thought God spoke to me.
That was the black eye of his first administration. I mean,
July
this is 13th, the second black.
I wouldn't be here, bro. I wouldn't be doing all this if on July 13th, when I was watching that video, and when I was watching the assassination attempt live, of course, emotions kick in, all right? But after it's all well and over, when I made the decision to go rent the city bike in New York City and drive down the Times Square, drive down the Trump Tower, or ride down the Trump Tower, and when I get there, I got my speaker, and I don't know why I brought my speaker because I'm not really street preaching much anymore. And then when I started speaking, it just came out of my mouth, and that got covered by Forbes, right? Like, I literally felt God speak to me in the way that he speaks to me through weirdness and thoughts and things just happening. And if it hadn't been for that moment, I don't think I would have rebought into the whole Donald Trump train, because post-COVID and them trying to do what they did and everything, I thought actually it wasn't, I wasn't blaming him for the vaccine. I was saying that he was doing such a good job that they brought the virus, right? And that reinforced things, Anyhow, but no, I really do truly in my gut believe that he's not a conspirator or a bad guy. I just believe he's a regular worldly dude that now is on the way to the Lord in a real way. And I hope he starts to perfect his language, you know, in terms of how he addresses the Lord, talks about the Lord, and these faith meetings and all this type of stuff, and quote some scripture. And
well, you know, like, look, I mean, if he is a Christian, I don't expect him to be the, you know, the example of Christianity, of Christian culture, and the standard on how we should live, obviously. And he's still going to be rough around the edges. I think, if anything, if he is a Christian, it came very late in his life, maybe a year ago. I don't know. Pastor David is saying, Matthew, text him. So make sure you do that. He's chatting. What's up, Pastor D? But yeah, like, if Donald Trump is a Christian, I don't think he's going to be the standard. He's going to be rough around the edges, not very sanctified. But it's about justification. And, you know, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens tomorrow, apparently, with this.
None
Epstein
of you people
thing.
better be messaging Pastor David about me. If you are, I'm going to find out who you are. And that we're
Pastor, what did you do, Matthew?
What did
you
do
say?
again? What did I do?
You always get in trouble, Matt.
I'm always getting in
Dude,
trouble.
You're going to get the show canceled, Matt.
Gosh darn it. I got a broken arm. My arm hurts. Okay. I'm on morphine.
No, Pastor David, Matthew's my producer. Get your own guy.
Am I in trouble
He
for
works
saying
for
I have
me.
mental illness?
Okay.
Everybody knows I have mental illness.
He
Pick
makes
one.
my thumbnails, okay? He makes my program, okay? Back off.
I've got real problems over here, Pastor David. No, I'm just kidding, Pastor. I will message you as soon as I'm off the air.
Yes.
Anyhow. So with that being said, here let's just wrap up real quick with
we better go, Matt.
But let's just do this one real quick. This is the Trump diagnosis. It'll probably error out and not work anyways, but whatever.
On another note, I know that many in the media have been speculating about bruising on the president's hand and also swelling in the president's legs. So in the effort of transparency, the president wanted me to share a note from his physician with all of you today. In recent weeks, President Trump noted mild swelling in his lower legs. In keeping with routine medical care and out of an abundance of caution, this concern was thoroughly evaluated by the White House medical unit. The president underwent a comprehensive examination, including diagnostic vascular studies. Bilateral lower extremity venous Doppler ultrasounds were performed and revealed chronic venous insufficiency, a benign and common condition, particularly in individuals over the age of 70. Importantly, there was no evidence of deep vein thrombosis or arterial disease. Laboratory testing included a complete blood count, comprehensive metabolic panel, coagulation profile, D-dimer, B-type natriuretic peptide, and cardiac biomarkers. All results were within normal limits. An echocardiogram was also performed and confirmed normal cardiac structure and function. No signs of heart failure, renal impairment, or systemic illness were identified. Additionally, recent photos of the president have shown minor bruising on the back of his hand. This is consistent with minor soft tissue irritation from frequent handshaking and the use of aspirin, which is taken as part of a standard cardiovascular prevention regimen. This is a well-known and benign side effect of aspirin therapy. And the president remains in excellent health, which I think all of you witness on a daily basis here. So the president wanted me to share that note with all of you. I'm happy to take further questions on it. We will provide the memorandum from the president's physician to all of you as we.
Well, I guess there goes the third term.
Well, that's the type of transparency we would like to be getting in all this Epstein stuff. Dang it! If you could just be that transparent with what's going on with your legs, your what's that called? Your ventrusic veins or your varicose veins. You just conning me. This whole medical thing right now is just made up to distract me from the Epstein Files.
Oh man,
oh,
no third term for Donald Trump, I guess, man.
That varicose vein thing ain't no big deal. I've had that since I was 7 years old.
Okay. He can run again. We'll vote for him again.
You want to see my legs? I'm just kidding.
No. Where's that Trump meter at now?
Trump meter is still up at 95% because he said something positive about Epstein. Okay, so, and he just came out with something good about the, transparency of the stuff. So look at my face. I look like I'm almost dead. I look taxed and tired. This is what you've done to me,
You're full
Trump.
of life, Matt. You're full of life.
Please, Trump, I'm in constant pain in my arm, and I don't need pain from you in my head. All right? Now, just so everybody knows, this is a pickleball injury. I'm not about to have a stroke, okay? I play pickleball every single day for a minimum of 3 hours. And God decided to I'm just joking, but God decided to punish me on the way up. Nope, I don't eat McDonald's. I do a very strict keto diet. Although I did, hey, there's a wonderful Jesus buffet in Tampa that I went to. I broke my diet, Alex, and I went to it. It's called Fred's Market. If you're in the Tampa area, $24, Christian music playing in the background, good people. It's just got wonderful food. Thousand Island, 10 out of 10, Thousand Island. So I enjoyed myself while I was up there. But anyhow, on the way up there, I don't know what happened, but on the way up there, my arm started to get destroyed. I wasn't even playing for 2 days. And then little by little, but when I was at Jonathan's house, I could barely lift anything. I couldn't lift anything. And then his wife took turmeric and ginger, grounded it up, put it on a paper towel, and taped it to my arm. I thought that was interesting and sweet and nice. So, but then I ChatGPT'd it, and it said it was stupid, and I can't do nothing. So, but I did it myself.
It's not that frozen shoulder, is it? You don't think it's frozen shoulder?
No, it is. Listen, I've been having problems with my arm for months. For months before I go play pickleball, I feel a pain in my arm, but not enough to inhibit any motion. It's okay. I couldn't even lift my arm at all. I mean, it was terrible. Day by day, it's getting 10% back. But I'm very worried, whether I'm going to be able to go play pickleball because I'm supposed to be going to New York at the end of the month. And the reason I'm going to New York is because I hate Florida. It's so hot here. I have no routine. And anyhow, we're at a rant stage. You're tired. You want to go. I called Alex and I said, hey, because I've been developing this program, which is organizing the show that we're running the show through, but making it myself. And it's quite wonderful. But as a result, we can sort of compute, all right, we got an hour's worth of content to go through. Well, an hour's worth of content, you and I somehow turned it into 2 hours and 38 minutes.
Yes.
I called him and said, let's do an hour. And he's like, all right, I can do an hour,
And here we are.
Is Stephanie in the room?
She's in the other room.
She's a good wife, isn't she? She's a good woman of God. She's very patient.
Amen.
I love Sister Stephanie. I only joke with her, you know what I mean? Because I want her, like I've talked, I want her to have the fear of the husband. She's got enough fear of the husband. But a little slap here and there goes a long way. Just kidding.
Thanks, Matt.
All right.
Okay. That's it for today. We'll see what happens tomorrow. We may be going live. And what are we going to talk about tomorrow, Matt?
Tomorrow would be more Jeffrey Epstein. No, literally. We got to shake it up.
Just kidding. I don't know if we're going to go live tomorrow. We would love to go live every day. But listen, guys. We love you guys. Thank you guys for watching. Those of you guys that are tuning in and commenting down below. If you would consider, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the new YouTube channel, Faith the Nation. A link to that is in the description. And also, if you're led to support this ministry, to bring you news, current events with a biblical perspective, and you feel led to give, we have our PayPal link also in the description below. Every dollar, every penny does help. And we do definitely appreciate it. But other than that, we can continue Faith in Nation each and every day, each and every week, however the Lord allows. But at the end of the day, whether you're Donald Trump, whether you're Matthew Lepasic, or whether you're just watching, in the YouTube section, at the end of the day, guys, true justice will come. It's not going to come through the Trump administration. It's not going to come through any world government. True justice will only come through the Lord Jesus Christ. And that's why we must repent, believe in the gospel of Jesus, believe in the cross, that he died for our sins. And he rose again on the third day. And he ascended into heaven. He's coming back once again. And as we await for that day, until he comes again, guys, it's time to faith the nation. God bless.
And I'm tricking you, Alex. At this point in time, you would expect me to end the show, but instead, I want you to buy these crosses. I make them myself with Sister Liza. GodGears.com. Watch this ad. I don't care if you don't have a job. Buy some crosses.
In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. The Word was God. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. The Word was God. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. The Word was God. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. The Word was God. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. The Word was God. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. The Word was God. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. The Word was
We do a little trolling. It's called
GodGears.com. GODGEARS.com.
Comes from China.
If you buy some crosses, I'll adopt a child.
Yeah, but